today's episode where we prove that when you're passionate about something, age knows no bounds. Today we are talking to Mrs. Indrani Singh, a teacher and educator, and who at 52 decided that she would pursue a course in PhD from the United States of America. It is an inspiring story and an interesting one. So we are going to dive deep into your decisions as an educator and as a researcher in this podcast. So welcome, ma'am, to this podcast. And first I would like to know that, at 52, you decided to leave everything behind, a perfect life in a small town like Jamshedpur, and you decided to pursue a PhD. What was the reason behind this decision?
This is a very interesting question, and I was expecting this because when I was off to US, there were a few people who did ask me this. So yeah, I think I have a few valid points which I would love to discuss. First is like my son was still in school, the younger one. So when I actually decided to pursue higher studies, he was in grade 10. That is way back in 2016. And I didn't want to kind of abandon him and go for my higher studies as a mother. Definitely my priority was my son's education. So I decided to stay back for 2 more years. And then after he completed, his graduation, in the sense his +2, and then he moved to Chennai for his engineering, and then I moved to US. So that was my first reason why I decided to move at this age. So I had to wait for 2 more years. And the other thing is I somehow found my work extremely mundane, repetitive. It was purely administrative, right? So I was looking for something new, something different, which I could implement in my school, and that would benefit my children, the students, the teachers. And consider that ADL, I was the principal of ADL. The school was more like a baby to me. Yeah. I was very passionate about my work.
I know you as a very innovative principal. That every month there was something or the other happening.
Yeah, and not that I was doing just for coverage, media coverage. Yeah. No, I always wanted my teachers and my students to be engaged in some kind of learning because it helps them a lot, right? Today, what I am, it is because of my school, right? So, and because of my school, and also to a great extent, my education, my past education. So I somehow feel that if that could happen in school, it is much better than waiting for the children to go to college or higher education and then learn. So I always loved the idea of engaging teachers and students because that is what I loved to do as a teacher when I was in DBMS also. So I continued to do that, and I continued to do more because when you are a principal, you have the power to, the liberty to, kind of execute, implement whatever you feel is good for the children and the teachers. So somehow I felt that after working for about 10 years and all as a principal, something was missing in my life,
So, you are a person who actually teaches that it's never late for anything that you're passionate about. And if you want to do something even at that age. So, there were many people, even in the town, who told us, or even, we think that way, that, it's a 50 cross ho gaya, now what to do, now everything is settled. So, अब पढ़ के क्या होगा? What is the benefit of studying again and restarting your whole life once again? Yeah. So, what were the challenges? Because, the life that you were in is a perfect life for many. Leaving everything behind and shifting not only within the country, but to a different country where the culture is different, the temperature, the climate is different, everything is so different.
Everything.
So, what was the motivation behind that? What was that one thing that clicked and ki chalo, ab chala jaye?
So after my son left, I realized that I had no liabilities. My husband has always been very supportive. So I was looking for the right time that, so that I could move out. So of course I had to answer GRE and TOEFL, which was really difficult. Yeah. My last that I took maths was in grade 10. So for GRE, you need mathematics. Oh. So I had to take tuitions, which nobody knows.
You took tuitions?
I took tuitions for 3 months and this is a secret, right? So my +2 maths teacher, Mr. Abhay Kumar, he was a maths teacher in ADL. He used to come to my house to teach me.
So you were a principal of ADLS and you took tuitions from the school's maths teacher. This is interesting.
Yes, to kind of brush up all that I had lost and all that I'd forgotten.
It's not out of touch.
Out of touch after 33 years, So he used to come to my house and then he used to teach me. So that's how I managed to answer GRE and TOEFL. And the scores were pretty good. And I got a call from 4 universities. But then since the first first university that I visited way back in 2016, was University of Tennessee. And I fell in love with the school. I fell in love with the department, the professors, the HOD. And thankfully, when I got a call, I didn't even take 24 hours to actually send a reply to them that, yes, I'm joining.
Okay.
Yeah, because she is a wonderful lady, Dr. Sherry Bell. And fortunately, she was a part of my dissertation committee too. So that one thing that I felt that, okay, now that my son has gone and that there's nothing new to learn here, let me move out. And I was looking for a new environment, a fresh learning environment, which was possible only once I moved out of Jamshedpur.
But not many people at that age or even my age feel that, oh, chalo kuch naya seekhte hain.
I feel it's a mindset, It's a mindset. And I feel that we need to understand that 50 is not an age to actually retire. And I personally feel, that retirement has no age. Okay, here in India, if we say 60 and 65 means you retire, you be at home or whatever. But I personally feel that if you are fine mentally, physically, and if you have the potential to work, to contribute, I think you should not think about sitting at home. 50 plus, why? Why not? Why not do something different? Why think about age? Age is just a number, right? Let me give you an example. When I was in University of Tennessee, I had to take up a course, right? Along with my mentor, Dr. Frances Harper. She was a dynamic professor. And that particular course was for elementary math teachers, right? And there were about 22, 24 students in that course who had enrolled. And there was one lady, she was 78 years old, right? Mind you, 78. So
at 78, she was a student. At 78.
So I was curious to know, but then fine. The first day was like more about like introducing yourself, what your plans are, your goals are as a math teacher. So she said that I am 78. Right? I do not teach any longer because 78 is too old to actually go to school, right? But she said that the main reason for my enrolling in this particular course is basically I want to die as a graduate. She had not completed a graduation.
Oh.
Yeah, because for whatever reasons. So she always had that at the back of her mind that I need to be a graduate. And finally she decided that no, let me enroll in a course, and then she chose this particular course. Of course, like all her education happened about say 40 years, 50 years back. That time there were no laptops, technology did not play a role at all, right? So when she enrolled in this particular course, so she was finding it a little difficult because in universities, especially in US, everything is digital. Everything. In fact, they have these kind of this banner and canvas where the entire syllabus, curriculum, project, submission of assignments, everything happens there. So it is completely digital, and that's, you really need to be very smart to be able to understand, because their professors do not like if you're constantly asking them that Dr. So-and-so, this is where I'm getting stuck, which means they're not techno-savvy. And there everybody is techno-savvy. Forget about that level, even the children who are in grade 5 and 4, they are very smart. So, but then she being so old. So I felt that, oh my God, at the age of 78, she could enroll herself, and Professor Harper, Dr. Harper was so kind of good to her, and she always ensured that she never faced any problem, and I was deputed for that. So I used to always take care of that student, So when a person at the age of 78 could think of enrolling in a course to complete graduation so that she dies a graduate, 50, I'm young as sweet 16.
Of course. But why do we have this mindset in India that you're 50 or 40, you're done?
That is because of you see, we have this retirement age, 60, right? So when you are close to 60, you start thinking that, okay, it's time for me to wrap up. Even the place where you work, you're considered to be old, senior. But these things don't happen in that country. They don't even think of asking your age. It's an offense to ask. I remember when I was in my last semester in PhD, we were told by each of our kind of mentors that you must start applying. So I remember, since I had plans of coming back to India soon after PhD, I had applied in 1 or 2 institutions, The first thing that I got back from them by email was, please write your date of birth. And then I realized that I had prepared a resume wherein the date of birth did not have a place, because that is something you're not expected to ask. It's your experience, your skill, your
And anyway, it doesn't matter also.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So age has always been a factor in India, which I feel is not right. So if a person is experienced, has a skill, and has a capacity and potential to contribute to the best, which will help the organization or the institution, age should never matter. So this is something which we really need to work on. I mean, it's very difficult. I cannot bring about a change, but maybe through the podcast, if there are people who are, kind of listening, and, they should at least be an agent of change and start saying that, okay, now we start taking people. In fact, the other day I was watching a movie called The Intern on Netflix.
Yes. Even I watched that movie. Amazing.
And I felt so good for that gentleman. Imagine retiring and then joining back again.
Right. And I think Rekha once spoke in a show recently that it's all about your mental stamina. It's not about your physical stamina. It's how much you can take it. Of course, when you moved to the US and COVID stuck just after a year, what were the challenges of moving from here to there?
Emotions and nothing else. Because PhD is not tough. PhD is not tough. First of all, when I joined, this particular program at the University of Tennessee, for a while I had imposter syndrome. Like, I'm not made for this. So I used to feel bad, or maybe that as, like you said, age. Maybe I'm too old. So these were the first few weeks when I used to feel bad. So it was one particular course on special education which we all had to take, because in US you are considered a teacher and a counselor too, which here we don't. So special education, a course on special education was one of the core requirements that all of us had to take, irrespective of whether you are a math teacher or an English teacher, whatever. So in that particular course, all of us were asked to share our thoughts, of how we felt when we joined this institution for a PhD program. So since I was the only one, and only F1 student in the whole of the College of Education, the only Indian, so they thought, okay, come on, Indrani, why don't you begin? So what I felt, I expressed. And I thought maybe I was the only one who had this imposter syndrome. No, there were others too. So the thing is that that was the first thing I felt, but then soon I overcame that when I realized I was not the only one. And then, with each passing semester, when I started doing really well in academics, throughout I've got a 4/4, never the 3.95 also. So that gave me a lot of confidence. Again, age doesn't matter. People were asking, "अरे तू याद कैसे रखती है?" But PhD में याद रखना ही नहीं है. It's an open book examination, but how many books is something that you have to decide. The most difficult part that I felt was emotions, handling emotions, and that is something where nobody can help you. Right? Nobody can help you. Of course, I do give a lot of credit to Dr. Harper, my dissertation chair, who did engage me in different kinds of projects. First of all, I was expected to, because they were paying me a stipend. But apart from that, even during summer, I was supposed to come to India to prepare for my son's wedding, right? But I couldn't. I flew to New Jersey, and then I got stuck there. Then the flight was cancelled for 2 consecutive days. I had to go fly back, imagine, with the entire luggage, everything I had to fly back. And then after that, the entire the campus was closed. We were all confined within the 4 walls. Going for grocery was once in 2 months. It was so difficult. So managing emotions, dealing with emotions is something which is very, very difficult. And I think to a great extent, the word emotion, always played a very important role in my career as a teacher, as a principal, and of course now as a researcher
also. So talking about emotions, because you took a break. It was a career break, and you were the principal. You're a good principal and a good now student too. So you took a break, and then you restarted and sent your resumes again to companies or organizations. How did you take that? I mean, restarting your career again. And there's one point where you have sent resumes, you're done, and you then continue. But taking a break and then doing it, restarting again. How did that feel?
Okay, so let me tell you one thing. That after I completed PhD, first of all, that pride had come in me that yes, I managed. right? My family was so proud. My children were so proud. My daughter, my son got married also, right? So even she was so proud. So somehow I had that pride in me that when I could do this, why can't I join? And then when I started sending out resumes, I received this email from this particular university where I'm working now, St. Augustine's University in Raleigh. That's in North Carolina. And the interview was, so my defense was on 6th May, and this interview was on 11th May, right? And the commencement ceremony where I was awarded was on the 20th of May, right? So before my commencement ceremony, this interview happened. And during the interview, I have a tendency of getting very passionate when I speak about teaching, education, because I've been in this field for more than 30 years, right? So seeing this passion, after the interview, he said that, Dr. Singh, I was Dr. Singh by then.
That feels nice, right?
Oh, yes. He said, Dr. Singh, we recruit you. So you will hear back from HR. So please look out for an email from HR and then get back to us with your thoughts. So I was extremely excited. And of course, the then vice president did offer me a few courses, if I could take up in that university. But then since I was already into teaching for so many years, I got a chance to teach again in the University of Tennessee. I wanted to kind of, engage more in research. Because research means learning again, getting a chance to learn much more than what you know.
And finding something new also.
Oh, yes. And since I was in the university and department where I had the liberty to actually exercise and implement a lot of best practices. And I was in very good terms, not only with my supervisor, Dr. King, who was an amazing person, and he was half my age again. He was
good at it. Learning. Even I learned from my team.
Yeah. So Dr. King was as old as my elder son, imagine, half my age. But we were like good friends. And he never made me feel that, hey, you are 50 plus. Like, here is 50, why did
it's not the culture there.
It's not the culture. And of course, the president, Dr. McPhail. So I was in very, very good terms with the president and the vice president. And since I was always passionate as a principal, I somehow managed to kind of show my passion even at the university by again doing a number of things. I was a part of program evaluation, part of doing smaller studies which help the president and also the university in taking certain decisions which are very important, for policy making and all. So, and again, social emotional learning module, that is something I started. They were so happy when they got to know that I was a part of the Malcolm Baldrige Excellence in Education.
Of course. That was an added benefit, I guess.
Absolutely. So they were so happy. And as it is, I was a part of the assessment team, the university. So, but then, here. But there the assessment is very different. Where you have departmental assessment and institutional assessment. That is another learning. Beautiful.
So you have learned a lot in this past 3-4 years.
Yeah. So on the whole, long story cut short, coming back again to work was extremely exciting for me because I wanted to kind of use my past experience and all that I learned at the University of Tennessee.
So again, your dissertation was on trauma in maths. What was that?
Math anxiety of secondary students.
So you know that I have been a victim. There are many people that we have been victims of that math anxiety and the trauma with maths. Why does it happen?
See, based on the findings, so my research participants were all grade 11 students of Jamshedpur. And I'm so thankful to those schools. I wouldn't like to name them because I'm supposed to maintain confidentiality. But there were 5 schools who were a part of it. And all those 5 schools were ICSE school students. And since I have been an ICSE student, as a student, mother, teacher and principal, I wanted to kind of work with ICSE students only. And all my research participants were again as grade 11 students. So mine was a mixed methods research. Mixed methods research is actually double work for a researcher. You do qualitative, you do quantitative. So it's like double work. My mentor, again, she did remind me a number of times, are you sure you want to kind of go for mixed methods? It's going to be double work, very long dissertation. I said, I want to do. I want to learn both. If I do only qualitative, I will not learn quantitative. If I do quantitative, I will not learn qualitative. So it was mixed method, and that helped me a lot because I had different kinds of data collection methods, a lot of data. I had a lot of information from the students, and then one of the most basic findings were low self-belief. And I'm happy that none of those students actually blamed the teachers. Which my one of the dissertation committee member there couldn't believe, because she said In the US, they would have put the blame on the teachers.
Yeah.
But here, these children didn't.
Yeah.
They said it's low self-belief because, and that is something that started in grade 7. Grade 7, for a few in grade 6, or most of them grade 7 and 8. Low self-belief, and once that low self-belief creeps in, it is very difficult to come out of it. It is basically a fixed mindset.
And also we don't have a system where they are helped to come out of that thing.
No, we do not have a system. We do not have a system. One is low self-belief and the other one is over-dependence on tuitions.
Yeah.
So when you're going for tuitions, you rely so much on the tuition teacher that you fail to understand that you need to pay attention in the class also. Wherein the students felt that maybe over-dependence on tuition also did not help them.
But one thing which I personally have felt and experienced is that why is maths and science subjects are, they are kept on a pedestal higher than the other subjects, and even including your family also keep telling you, oh, this is maths, oh, this is maths, oh, this is maths. So you actually tend to develop and being conditioned in that particular system since you're very young, and then when you grow and at 7, 8, 9, 10, it's like I've already given up that. It's not my cup of tea.
10 is like, okay, I somehow need to get a pass mark.
Yeah.
11, I'm not.
And then I'm not taking maths.
I'm not taking maths.
Yeah. Which happened to you and me also.
Of course. And that happened with me because in standard 11, I did take maths. And I attended maths class for one month.
Okay.
And I left after that.
Okay.
And you won't believe in PhD, I had stats.
Okay.
PhD level stats, and when my mentor, he said like, okay, so you are taking these all courses, how about stats? You have to make it with part 1. We had part 1, 2 and 3, right? I said, but I'd never had maths. But you need to take stats because without statistics, you can never be a mixed method researcher. You need to be a qualitative researcher. I said, but then, no, I want to be a mixed method. Well, no, you need to take stats. That was the first time I took up statistics, master. So I had one course of master's level and 2 courses, PhD level.
Okay. So why does this happen? What we have gone through. Okay.
Let me tell you
one thing. Is it the family which is to be blamed?
No, it is just a feeling that mathematics is difficult, right?
But the society behaves like that.
That is because it's a stereotype, right? Everybody has been talking about it. There are so many families wherein they talk of gender stereotypes. Girls means they cannot do. It's only the boys who can do.
I remember you had organized a maths conclave or some maths workshop in your school, the new building. And I still remember the name of the teacher who told me this. I went to cover and I said that, oh my God, maths, I was so petrified of this. I don't know which school is she from, but teacher Gitanjali, I remember her name, and she said maybe you did not have a good teacher because I was so petrified. So she said that if you had a good teacher, then you wouldn't be afraid of a subject or any subject for that matter. So how will the family, the parents, the teacher contributes to a student of not fearing any subject?
I'll tell you, here I think it's the pedagogy that matters a lot, right? Not that math anxiety is something that is there only in India. It's there in each and every country. You won't believe, for my dissertation, I still have it on record. I went through 548 articles because when you write a dissertation, you need to, it cannot be, anecdotal.
Yeah.
You need to show that this is where this has been discussed in this paper, the author claims, states, demonstrates.
Yeah.
So it cannot be anecdotal. 548 articles I actually went through, and I had them all on my laptop in order to write a dissertation. Total 258 pages dissertation. So I somehow felt that the approach that country follows is very different, right? Theirs is, as I said, constructivist, wherein the students are made to create knowledge based on the information that they receive in the previous class. Okay. Number 2, it is inquiry based. So they have to question themselves.
So that's curiosity work.
Curiosity. Number 3 is like it is collaborative. Anything, like for example, I was a part of a class observation of secondary maths teachers, which was a part of my work as a PhD scholar.
Right.
And I'm happy that Dr. Harper gave me an opportunity to be a part of the class observation. And mind you, I'm observing a teacher, a secondary mathematics teacher of Oak Ridge School, which is one of those premium schools in Tennessee. Okay, but then you don't need a maths background, right? A mathematics background. All that you need to know is how to observe that particular class, right? What she or he is teaching is not important for you, but what is the pedagogy that the teacher is using or employing for the children to understand is important. So that particular program had pre-observation conference and post-observation conference, right? So during the observation, I realized that the class was divided into groups. Yes,
Okay.
of course, the class was small. We cannot, not that we cannot do it in India, we can do it. So what I noticed is the class was divided into smaller groups. The teacher did not share what he was planning to teach.
Okay.
So what he did was, what I understood later, and of course during the post-observation conference that we had, was he knew the concepts that were required to understand that topic. So he gave them small exercises on each of those concepts.
Okay.
Okay, so beautifully, it's like joining the beads, right? Each of those concepts, till the children could use all those concepts together
Okay.
to understand the final topic that the teacher had to teach.
Okay.
So imagine the children were all working. Once he realized that, okay, the children knew what they had to do, they knew the concepts. All those who did not, they're very open. You know, the teacher walks up to the group and they talk to them and they discuss with them.
They are scared of the teacher.
No, they're not. They're just not scared of the teacher. The teachers are so friendly. So I think that's very important. The maths teachers need to be friendly and they need to make the class more collaborative, more inquiry-based, rather than this is the method that you need to follow. This is what he or she learned, so you have to learn this way.
Right. And talking about education, because as we discussed, India or Jharkhand for that matter, we have a very little budget on education that is spent. That's not the priority. Health and education should be the priority, but it is not.
Absolutely.
Health is a little bit better now post-COVID, but education has always taken a back seat.
Education and research.
Yeah. What is the difference between the country you were and India? Why aren't we researching enough?
I really do not know why we are not researching. First of all, like you said, that budget, probably we need to work on that. And the other thing is, some of the practices that they have, most of the public universities, they have a tie-up, a partnership with community schools.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like...
Here it's very different.
No, you
different segments.
I've never heard of any partnership, any collaboration.
Never?
No, never. So that way what happens, more and more teachers of those community schools who are a part of that particular project, okay, they're a part of the research. So they get an opportunity to work, right, with the professors. The schools get a chance to understand what the university education is like, right? And there was one particular research where, again, project where I was a part of, it was a qualitative research, wherein the research participants were teachers.
Okay.
The secondary teachers.
Okay.
So imagine the teachers, they knew that for students to take admission or enroll in higher education, what are the requirements? So what happens here is, I don't think the teachers are told that, okay, if a particular group of children, they want to join an engineering college, so what are the requirements? So that understanding and the knowledge of the requirements of the students as such, when they go for higher studies, is not there.
Yeah.
Because their work is concentrate on the syllabus, teach them, they get a pass mark, they do well, you get a pat on your back, and it ends there.
Yeah.
So I feel that it is important for the teachers to understand, first of all, what their children are capable of, and if they're going for engineering, medical, A, B,
Anything.
C, whatever.
You say teachers work as facilitators there.
Oh, of course they
Not
work
like
as
a teacher.
Yeah, that is how it is a constructivist approach. The pedagogy is again a constructivist approach, wherein they are facilitators. So they expect the children to create knowledge, to come up with knowledge. Let me give you a small example if time is not a constraint. I'll just give you in short, not a detailed description of this. I was a part of one particular research project that was funded by National Science Foundation, right? And the research participants were children from 3 to 5 years. Imagine.
Toddlers.
So, absolute toddlers. Okay. Now here, the children, the only way of collecting data is by observing them.
Okay.
Right?
Because they cannot respond
They cannot
the way you want to.
They cannot respond. So the thing is, the children learned, and the research was basically on how to teach computational skills and algorithms to children. Right? Imagine 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Right? And the importance of computational skills in engineering. So what they did for computational skills and for algorithm, they since of course they receive a lot of grants, NSF gives a lot of grants, right, based on the kind of project you're doing. So they bought robots. Okay, so they bought a caterpillar with 10 sections and a head. So the teachers used to give them not probing questions, used to kind of give them a few words so that the children could use those words and connect them in order to kind of bring about a more kind of discussion-oriented environment in the class. So I was surprised to see children of 3 and 4 talking about, a caterpillar with numbers, or where the numbers are. Okay, let us look for the numbers. The teacher knew that the number chart was on the wall, and the children would run to the wall and say, hey, the number chart is here. Okay, so which is the largest number? There were 9 plus 1, 10. So 9, which is the largest number? Let me check. And the teacher said 5. Everybody laughed. No, it's not 5. It's 1. So you see how the children, lot of fun, and the children were engaged in the discussion, wherein the learning was immense.
Yeah, it has changed now. We were petrified as students.
Petrified as students, and the best part is the teachers engage the children in a lot of discussions, wherein, as I said, they're all facilitators. They allow the children to speak. They allow the children to talk. They allow the children.
It's a two-way communication.
It's a two-way. It's more of the children coming up than of course, the teachers teach. They do an amazing job. But at the same time,
it's a different pedagogy altogether.
It's a different pedagogy, which I feel if we can do that here. Other one is micro teaching, which again I felt is very important. I got to know from one of the B.Ed school principals that micro teaching is taught to the teachers, but I've never seen a single teacher.
What is micro teaching?
Okay, micro teaching is basically, it is a good way of improving the teaching skills of the teachers. So supposing a particular teacher, you get to know that a particular teacher lacks this particular skill in teaching. Okay, so micro teaching is basically wherein you give that particular teacher a topic to teach, a small part of a topic, very simple. Okay, and there are just 5 to 6 students. Okay, so this happens for 1 hour, and the entire teaching that happens in the classroom with only those 5 students is video recorded. Okay, and there you have peer teachers also. So the peer teachers are there not to criticize. Okay, the peer teachers are there to understand how the teacher is teaching. Okay, and then after that, the entire video that is recorded is basically analyzed by a PhD or a professor or a principal.
So where have you gone wrong, and these are the areas to work on.
Yes, to work on. So I feel if we can do this with the students also, like micro teaching can be done for the teachers who lack certain skills in teaching, at the same time involve students who are not good in that particular subject. That way you're able to involve a few students. That becomes a kind of an extension of a remedial class. Right? So wherein you are testing the teacher will definitely try his or her best, to teach in a way that is you're expected to teach. You're giving the teacher a chance to improve, and at the same time, the children are not too good in that particular subject. They are also called. So it's a combination of helping the teachers to improve the teaching skills and the children also. So this is a beautiful thing which I feel that schools should adopt. So there are a lot of differences I feel, between and of course people might say, and I do understand that the class size is big here, much bigger. But there is always a solution, always.
And so, you are also doing your study and research in emotional ecology. How do you define it? What is it, and what are you doing?
Okay, now emotional ecology, if I may define it in simple terms, is basically that we should be alive and open to love and hate, beauty and despair, very basic emotions. And emotional health, a true emotional health, is the capacity to hold all these powerful emotions and experience it without getting overwhelmed, without getting lost, without shutting up. Right? So this is what this emotional ecology is all about. And this study on emotional ecology is to investigate how the emotions of an individual interact with the surrounding environment. So when I talk about environment, I talk about individual, that is self, social, cultural, physical environment, institutional context.
But what is the purpose of the study, and
the purpose of what emotional ecology here does is it offers assessment of each individual and tries to see to investigate the stress level of each individual that the research is doing, and how the emotion of each individual is affected by each of those components, that is social, individual. So we have designed a survey. Since our research participants are all Hindi school students, and they come from a different demography altogether, so these are all kind of customized. It cannot be one size fits all survey. It cannot be the same. So based on their background, we have designed a survey which will definitely, while analyzing, we will get to know of each student that which particular component has affected the emotions of that particular child. And accordingly, we are going to group them. And then after grouping them, we will help the institutions to kind of work on targeted strategies or interventions to address stress levels and bring down the stress levels, or
which is very high in the city.
Yeah, very high, and ability to kind of work on their emotions also.
Okay, I think that will solve a lot of problems in life.
Absolutely, because what happens in India typically, these organizations, say businesses or education institutions, they do not employ emotional ecology model. As a legitimate business model. They do kind of incorporate a few elements of emotional ecology, thinking that the stress levels of people are uniform and one size fits all approach is
it's not true.
It's not true. So all that they do is they resort to some kind of wellness program or counseling, but that doesn't solve. It sounds good, right? But that doesn't solve. And then let me tell you one thing: in ADLS, I had started something called emotional well-being, and we got an award for that. And that was basically very, very similar to this, wherein we were trying to, but not that each and every child was assessed, but the class teachers and the subject teachers were asked to observe the students, and there were several parameters under which the children were kind of assessed. So children who kind of had some disciplinary issues, so based on the parameters, the subject teachers or the class teachers would enter. We had a separate register for that. So that is to be a huge project, and I remember the first year we wanted to identify 50 students. The teachers came up with 75. I had to take a fresh budget from the management so that we could award all those 75 students. And believe me, it was the teachers who came and literally fought with it. No, ma'am, this is not right. This student has really improved. So from 50, we had to go up to 75, which is a beautiful thing, right?
Of course.
So I feel this is something which all institutions, organizations need to work on if they really want performance to improve. And when performance improves, see, the organization, the name, everything improves, right? You bring down attrition. And I think you create a very conducive environment, which is so important.
So you've spoken about emotions, but closing sentences on 3 things that our education system would need to make it better.
First is inclusive education. We talk about inclusive education, but I don't think we do that, because inclusive education means, kind of addressing the learning disabilities of different kinds of students. Now, when we come to learning disabilities, there are different kinds of learning disabilities, okay? That, like you have ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, you have dysgraphia, it's quite a few. But I don't think any of the institutions have any kind of educational assessment programs wherein they can identify. Nor do we have any medical assessments wherein the children come up saying that my child has dyslexia or my child has ADHD. We do not have that.
They are in denial mode anyway.
Denial mode. So there has to be certain kind of system that should be there, which is prevalent in all schools in US. So that is something we need to work on. Inclusive education does not mean just having a common curriculum for everybody, but it has to be addressing the ability to identify students with different learning disabilities. At the same time, employing teachers specialized in special education. We do not have that. So it is not possible to expect general teachers to address the needs of special teachers. It is not possible. We need to work on that. Number 2 is like bring in more of research right from school. Rather than, what we do is like, even for ICSE, we give them projects. So why? Because they need to score 20 marks. So most of those projects, I know they are copy-pasted.
Those 20 marks.
Some of them even go and they give it to, there are so many vendors who are sitting there.
It's a business now.
It's a business now. Instead of doing that, why not engage them in research? Very basic research. Teach them how to write an academic paper. None of the ICSE students, even CBSE, I'm sure, they know how to write a proper academic paper. paper.
Yeah.
No. I have spoken to my students who are in US, whether they had any difficulty, when they joined for masters, for higher education, they all said, yes, ma'am, we did have, because we were never taught.
Yeah.
So I feel that it is through research, if we can say incorporate research, basic research, then the children will start becoming more curious to learn.
Curious, and they will develop that mindset.
That mindset also, rather than rote learning, sitting and memorizing, copy, pasting. Chat GPT, I'm not too fond of Chat GPT again. As a copy paste.
No, but in our times, we used to go to the library and work harder, but now it's all available.
It's
on your
all
fingertip.
available.
Yeah.
And again, Chat GPT is not the final word.
Yeah, no. It actually collaborates whatever is already available on the internet.
That's all.
Yeah.
So it's not good again. So you're limiting, kind of the learning abilities of a child, which they may have,
right.
but everything is available to them. So I somehow feel if research could be incorporated right from grade 9, which can be a part of the project, and then towards the end of grade 10, instead of submitting a simple project or copy pasting, they can write a simple academic paper.
Yeah.
That is second thing which I feel should be, and the third is like, every teacher should be a part of special education classes. Every teacher should be should have a specialization in special education. Then only they'll be able to kind of handle different kind of cases, rather than having one counselor for 3,000 students.
Yeah, and
which
we
is
have
not
bigger
possible.
numbers. It's impossible
and
to cater
and
to
you
that
do not
number.
get counselors nowadays.
Yeah.
Most of the counselors, they have their private business. They do not want to come to school. So, I sometimes wonder whether the counselors that we have in schools are able to address the needs.
Or is it just for the sake of it?
Yeah,
like because council says.
Council says, and I don't think it is possible for one human being to address emotional needs of so many students.
Of course.
So many students, they don't even want to come up and say, what do you do with those children? What do you do with those children? Emotional ecology comes.
Okay.
Here emotional ecology will play a very important role if the schools really want to be a part of this model.
So thank you so much, ma'am, for being in our this video podcast. And I think what you said is that teachers also need to be trained, and teachers also should be willing to learn. I think that is one thing that is the biggest thing that is a takeaway from this podcast, that usually we are so satisfied and the teachers are so content that okay, we know everything and this learning has stopped. Learning actually never stops, and you are an inspiration for us who says that learning can happen at any age.
Absolutely.
You just should be willing to learn enough. So thank you so much for being on this podcast. And if you like our video, then do like, share, subscribe, and do comment below what do you want to see next. Thank you so much.